Good afternoon. We are just going to give everyone a few minutes to join since it's 1 minute before 2. So we'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Thanks for everyone joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you.
It's kind of fun to see people.
I had just jumped on and said that we'd give everybody a minute or two.
Yeah, sounds good. We're missing one or two people. Hi, Trinae. It looks like Rebecca won't be able to join us for a little bit. She has something to do at work. Sarah, Kit, and Eilish, I think, are still not on. But other than that, and I believe Vin is on vacation this week. Yes. So Vin Russo won't be joining us at this meeting. So what do you think, Mary? Should we get going? I think we have a pretty full house.
Yeah, I think in the interest of everyone's time, it's best to get started.
Okay, terrific. So thank you everyone for joining this meeting, for agreeing to do it. Oh, there's Eilish, good. And I'd love for people to introduce themselves and give one reason why you want to be on this working group for the dashboard. That would be really helpful so that we all know where we're starting. So I'm Cece Marr. I'm the Senate co-chair of the Children's Committee, and I am interested in making sure that we have transparency and as much information out into the public on the workings of DCF as possible so that people know where to go when they have questions. So that's my reasoning. I'm going to shoot it to you, Mary, and then you can choose the next person.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mary Wielander. I serve as Vice Chair of the Children's Committee in the House, and Mackenzie can thank you. And I will be co-chairing this working group with Senator Marr. I'm here, I think, same reasons as Cece mentioned, but also just want to make sure the more information we have, the better supports that we can provide for children, families, and the caseworkers who do this important work. So I'm glad to have everyone here today, and I will toss it to our ranking senator, Senator Perillo.
Hi, so Jason Perillo, Senate ranking on children's. Obviously, we've been dealing a lot of these issues for a long time, and if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So here we are with this opportunity to help the agency gather the information that the public needs and that we need to support them.
And who would you like to talk next? You get to.
Am I calling on somebody?
You get to call them.
Okay, Mackenzie. Sorry to do that to you, Mackenzie. How about
Mackenzie's acting as our temporary clerk administrator for the day.
Senator Kushner?
Thank you, Senator. I'm Senator Julie Kushner. I represent the 24th District, and I am a member of the Children's Committee. And I appreciate so much the work of DCF. I know it's one of the most challenging agencies in state government, but I also recognize that we need to move quickly to restore confidence in the agency, given some of recent, news and the concerns that we have. So I'm happy to be on this and be part of shaping what the dashboard will look like. Thank you. And I will call on Representative Kai Belton.
Hello, everyone. So I'm participating pretty much like everyone else. I believe that good policy starts with good information, and I am happy to be a voice in making sure that this tool is useful, accurate, and actionable. Thank you. Oh, and I will pass it to Amy.
Hi, I'm Representative Amy Morin-Bello, and I represent the 28th District in Weathersfield. And I'm here because I don't know enough about DCF. And I think there's a lot of people that don't know enough about it, and that having a dashboard with statistics and showing us what DCF actually does day in and day out is helpful to legislators who are making policy, and also to the public, so that they have a better idea of how cases are managed and handled. And I will kick it off to Eleni.
Hi, I'm Rep. Capros DeGraw. I am grateful to be doing this work today with all of you. Much like everyone else, have had concerns, and we continue to see numbers that we don't like. So obviously we have to do something about that. I would also say I was lucky enough to have quite a few things included in the bill that were a direct result of 2 cases in my district. And so I see this as sort of a follow-up to all of that work, and I am looking forward to being and working with all of you. And I'm going to throw it to, let's see who's left. Susan Hamilton.
Good afternoon, everybody. Commissioner Susan Hamilton at DCF. And I really want to echo a lot of the reasons why everybody else is here. I think it's so important, first of all, that we have sort of transparency around the outcomes that we're seeing, and that we're both good and those areas that are in need of improvement. Because I think, as policy setters and as agency leaders and others that are involved and focused on this work, the better informed we are about the true scope of what's going well and where we are challenged. That's a collective goal that I think we all share. It's coming up on a year I've been in the seat, and that's one of the top priorities that we had already had set as an opportunity to inform publicly the data and the information, and putting that in a format that's accessible and as real time as possible. So I really appreciate the focus of this group, and the language that's in the bill that will help us supplement what has already been made available on the website, and updates that we were already working on. So it really tied nicely with our own objectives, and I look forward to working along with the rest of our DCF team that are joining on moving this agenda and this goal forward. So thank you for including us. Sorry, I was just supposed to toss it. I'll toss it to Fred.
Hi, everyone. I'm Fred North. I'm DCF's Director for Data Reporting and Evaluation. As the Commissioner said, I'm really excited to be a part of this group, even if only advisory. And that this group has been gathered together so we have the input from a wide range of stakeholders to what people really need and want to see out there. DCF does have a lot of information available these days. We gather a lot of data. So this will be really helpful for us. It's also, and maybe this is a political faux pas, but I really appreciate that you brought funding with this bill too, because this work is not free. It's not cheap. And we really do appreciate all your support. So I will toss it to Mike Carone.
Mike Carone? I'm not sure if you're.
Hey everyone, I have to be off camera today. Currently offsite at Solnit South, giving a tour to a couple of your legislative colleagues. But happy to be here, taking notes, and look forward to continue working with everybody here, hosting the next session as well. I'm not sure who I should kick it to. I'm off camera. Anyone else wants to volunteer?
Sorry to interrupt you, Mike. Yeah, I'll toss it for you. Mike is part of our legislative team. What's your official title, Mike?
Oh,
so
yes.
I don't get it wrong.
Legislative Program Director. Sorry,
There we
I just assume most of the legislators know
they
that
probably
by now,
do. They probably do. But anyways, excellent. Let's see who. Let's see. Trinae. Did Trinae go?
No, thank you. Hi, Susan. I'm
Hi.
Representative Trinae McGee. I represent the 116th, which is West Haven. I'm really looking forward to this great group, and reasons why working on this bill was really an honor of mine, because I don't think we had produced a bill to look at the child welfare system as in depth as we are now. Section 9 is a section that I was able to be vocal on, and that is the racial disparity part, and addressing racial awareness. And wherever you can track and you have stats, that is really where you know how to improve something, fix it, strengthen it. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you, and I think this is going to be great. And I'm going to pass it to Collins, Maine.
Hi, everybody. Yes, thank you. Eilish Collins, Maine, representing the 146 in Stamford. I know you can appreciate I got dressed up for this meeting, but just briefly, I'm so glad to be invited and part of this group. I have two sisters that are lifers in the school system. One is in elementary and one's been in the guidance system. So I do field a lot of somebody mentioned restoring confidence in DCF, and I also hear that from my constituents. So I'm glad to be a part of this conversation and do what I can to contribute and make improvements as we move along. So thank you. And I will pass it to, I don't know who's left. I think that's it.
Ming hasn't spoken, and I can't see, but I think it's Manny. My glasses. Yes, Manny and Ming have not, and we have a few other people. So, Ming, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I'm Ming Lee. I'm software developer in DCF. I reporting to Yang Ku. I'm here just try to understand the future requirement for the technical implementation for this project. Yeah, I will pass to Yang Ku, our manager.
Good afternoon. My name is Yanku Nicolae. I'm a part of BIS in service of DCF. And we're here with our team, Manny and Ming, and I think Kate as well, to try to understand what the requirements are and to also show through transparency in this dashboard and reports, not just I guess there's a lot of negativity around the news, but all the good things that DCF does. I think it's 99% good and maybe 99.9% good and very little. There's a lot of work that DCF does that people don't know. And I think a dashboard like that would, definitely help. So we're just here to understand the requirements. I'll pass it to Manny.
Yeah, hi, this is Manny. Yeah, I work in Yanko's team for DCF, and I'm a BI consultant. So I'm here to understand the requirements. Yeah. Pass it to Kate.
Hi everyone. I go by Kate, and it's nice to meet everyone who I don't know. I'm here as a part of reporting team and just hoping to be as helpful as possible.
That's terrific. Do we have everybody? I think we have Sarah and Dave, but do you want to get on and say something, Dave? Sarah?
I'll just say hi, Dave Disjardins with the House Democrats office, just helping staff. And Sarah is my colleague at House Republicans. I'll pass to you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah Santone, work in House Republicans, and I am here also helping out any of my colleagues that I have from Republican Party.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, everyone. I think the two things that came out to me were, one, the need for transparency and the desire for transparency. So I don't want to just say need. And then it came up in an email from Rep. Paris as well as Trinae, making sure that we capture the racial disparity components so that we can see how that plays out, not just in numbers, but across counties and across the state. So I think that that's a key piece that Corey had wanted us to include. So let's go through the requirements of the statute in terms of what needs to be on the dashboard. And we sent it to you all, so I don't want to take too much time about talking about it, but it's integrating electronic data collection and tracking tools, presenting it in a manner that permits users to access and understand the information without specialized training, information for public concerning offices and programs and services so that not just the public, but also those who are engaging with DCF can work with the knowledge and the information presented. Then information concerning the identification of child abuse and neglect, and subset on that is how to report it to the department. Then educational training developed and pursuant to a section of the bill, PA 2626. And in that educational training program, any video formats that the members of the public can access without creating a username and password. And I think that that's a key piece, not creating a username or password so that people can come on and get the information they need without feeling as though they perhaps they're looking for information to understand better or to help their family, but they might be scared away by having to create a username or a password. So that was a key piece of information. And I see that Sarah and Rebecca are here right now. I just want you to introduce yourself for 2 seconds and also say why you wanted to join this particular working group in the summertime.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I was a little late. And I'm hoping I don't lose power internet. Being on the Children's Committee for the last 4 years, seeing where we can improve and help families who are interacting with DCF and people who are trying to protect children, I thought this was really important to involve myself in.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
Hi, Representative Rebecca Martinez, and I wanted to join serving on the Children's Committee. I believe the testimony was really powerful, and we heard a lot about corrections that need to be made, and we've seen some stuff in reports about just ways that families could maybe have some better access. I'm happy to join.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and I do want to hear from all of you about what additional pieces you want to see. I hope people had a chance to look at the website of Wisconsin's DCF and the dashboard that's there. I think while it's a good dashboard and has some really good information, I think Connecticut can even do better, quite frankly. looking at it. I think it is a tiny bit, it's a little bit underrepresented for some of the things I think we need. And then I wanted to just talk about timelines, because this is going to be a very fast time frame. We have to submit a report by the 1st of October. And I wanted to get people's opinions and thoughts on perhaps breaking out into subgroups so that we can all take a chunk of it rather than being focused within a big committee working group. So I'd like to open the floor, and Mary, please weigh in. What would you like to add to what's been said so far?
Well, I think divvying it up makes a little bit of sense in terms of the workload and the lift that we're asking everyone to do. One of the things that I was thinking about, and when I say this isn't a knock on the State Department of Education, but like we have this wonderful website with EdSite that has a ton of information. It is just not the easiest to navigate. And I think that would be, when we're thinking about the building of the actual dashboard, having it be as user-friendly for people who are not part of that professional community of the Agency of Department of Children and Families would be really helpful in making sure that information is clearly understood, and it reduces the chance for misinformation to get out there in some ways. So I think that would be really, really helpful when we're thinking about how we want the information to be shared. Since we are on a tight timeline, and now I know that in the summertime, we don't all want to sit on Zoom for hours and hours. One of the thoughts that I had, and I apologize, Senator Marr, for not bringing it to you ahead of time, is having everyone come back to the next meeting with some of the points that they would like to see included, and make sure that we're really aware of where you are coming from your community, from your professional experience, and we can have that submitted to the working group ahead of time so we can collate it and make sure that we're sort of hitting on the points that some of which Senator Marr just mentioned, and then making sure that the data points are as comprehensive as possible. So we can sort of take the basis of what Wisconsin did and make it better and more Connecticut focused.
Yep. To add on to that, I would love to see more graphics similar to the education website. I think the graphics can draw people in and they can then dive deeper. So in terms of what people would like to see on the website, on the dashboard, have you had a chance to look at the Wisconsin one? Have you looked at anything else? And Mary just mentioned the State Department of Education. Is there anything else? I'm sorry, I'm distracted by all the deer in my backyard. Is there anything else that someone has looked at that they want to bring forward that we can all go look at? Yes, Commissioner.
Great, thank you for that. I'm wondering if it might make sense, and if this has already been done, I apologize, but as I'm looking through some of the categories, I'm wondering if, between now and maybe the next meeting, or if we're going to break up into smaller groups, DCF could also provide what's currently already online on the website. I think I 100% agree about needing to look at ways to make it more user-friendly, because the point is not only to get the data up there, but that it's up there in a way that's understandable for folks who might not necessarily be doing the work day to day. So I'm just thinking, rather than starting from scratch, we can certainly, I think, between our data team and our CQI team and others that do this, we could come prepared to sort of provide, or even in advance share, some of the things that we already have, to sort of see what's already there and how we might want to either enhance it or tweak it. Because in my mind, there's really two goals. One is there's information sharing, right? That's part of this bill as it's currently drafted. The other part is more related to the real time data and the things that were part of that Wisconsin, like a little bit more that's really down into the actual data elements themselves. So I see it a little bit like two categories that we're trying to get out there, both information about program services, the care line, how to access it, and then the real-time case-related data. So we can certainly share, we can talk internally and send to the group kind of what's there already that we can either start from, discard, whatever, because we have been working on this prior to the bill. And you know, we've done some work on it, so we could perhaps look at that as well. So just a suggestion.
I think that would be really helpful to talk through, yeah, exactly what you already have. And I thinking through, especially since this is something that's being broadcast publicly, my thought would be that it would be helpful for maybe someone from the agency to really go through and discuss some of the information that we may want but can't be shared as well. So we can understand the limitations before we get really into the nitty-gritty. And we've got privacy concerns and data de-identification that would need to happen. So we're all starting from that same level point of what is actually accessible, making sure that we're, you know, being responsible in that way. And I had another point and went right out the window. So there's a lot of thunder in my area right now. It's a little, but that would be helpful so we can understand that there are some concerns that we have to be more careful about. And also making sure that everyone who is watching and participating understands that within the Department of Children and Families and the cases that you see, there are no two that are ever alike. Exactly. And so we have to try to find a way to take this information with some points that we can pull as commonalities, but also recognizing that it's really hard to be as prescriptive as some people may want when it comes to addressing the concerns that come before the agency.
So thank you for that. I think that is important that people understand that we aren't going to be able to report, certainly never on individual cases in a public manner, but I'm looking at the Connecticut DCF dashboard. And what I'm seeing here is CPS reports, the report results, the reports by disposition, and the report by maltreatment type. And those are the primary, unless I'm missing something, those are the primary four. And that you can find it easily on the DCF CT.gov home /dashboard. And when I go back to the Wisconsin dashboard, the one page that I thought was really great was older youth outcomes dashboard. And so this is segmented, just take the older youth area. It's total lifetime in care, number of youth exiting out of home care, median months in home care. So it is really segmented down so that we can get a view, a window into what's happening with our older youth. And then this also, you've got report on children with disabilities served in the child welfare system, the child abuse and neglect report segmented out. So there's just a lot more granular information beyond the CPS reports. And I think that is what we were thinking we would want to have in this dashboard, is more information that we can really look and see what is happening with our children in Connecticut. And I'm sorry, Commissioner, is your hand up again? Because
Yeah, it is. Yes, thank you. No, yeah, it was. Sorry. I had it up for a while, then I took it down, posted it back up real quick to say, I agree. I agree. And I think and one of the things that I internally hear as we see what's on the dashboard versus all of the other data that we have. So when I'm referring to information we currently collect, part of it is what's on that dashboard, which I agree is more high cut. There's other data, and this is where I think we can think through exactly where, because it's not our website, and I'll say it, I think it's not as user-friendly as we all would like. In terms of being able to identify, we have so much information on there, but it's not always in necessarily the right place. So it's what's on that page you just referred to, Senator Marr, around some of the investigation data, but we have other data that we collect that also I think is information that the group would be interested in considering for inclusion in where we land on the final dashboard. And so I was thinking more along those lines as well, that page, but other sources. And I don't know, Fred, if there's specific thoughts that come to mind, but that's what I thought we could share in advance too, so we can see all of it, the information that's showing right now as dashboard, but also other reports that we have elsewhere on our site. Just to clarify that one point, because it's not easy to navigate it, and I'm hoping that will be part of what we also do with this group when we finalize the dashboard.
Fred, did you want to add to that?
Sure. Thank you. And yeah, thank you, Commissioner. There definitely is a difference between reports that are static, right? Documents, PDFs, things like that. Content that's just on our website that describes programs and services. And then separately, the data and the data visualizations that you might see like on Wisconsin's dashboard. One of the things that really is great about Wisconsin's site is that it does organize things the way you were just describing. So you can kind of bucket the work, and then I think they pretty much focus on just the data pieces within each of those buckets. But I could see us doing something a little bit more than that to provide both those kind of links to static documents in a nice organized way, as well as visualizations. And maybe to your point earlier, you do the visualizations at the top to grab the viewer and kind of pull them in, and then continue to let them drill into that area of work as they have a need or an interest. And then, at some point they'll get to those links to static documents that relate to it. But at the same time, they're also drilling down from kind of high level, simple, maybe volume metrics. So how many reports of abuse or neglect did we get in a year? What types of abuse or neglect were being reported, but not a whole lot of disaggregation. A little bit of that volume info, and maybe just one quick thing about, well, how much is this different than last year? Is it more, less? How much more or less? Maybe. But then when you drill into that whole mandate areas page, you have a completely separate page that lets you dig into all these other details, more visualizations, more disaggregations, such as disaggregations by age, race, sex at birth, geography, always bearing in mind to Rep. Wellender's point, that at some point when you do all those disaggregations, you get down to very small numbers that really need masking to ensure privacy and confidentiality, right? There's some pretty standard ways of doing that kind of masking. We've applied those to our data sets that have been posted on the Open Data Portal. So that's quite familiar to us. Hopefully that helps. We do actually have a mock-up of how this might be organized that we can share maybe for the next meeting or before the next meeting. That's just one way of doing it. It's not exactly like Wisconsin's, but similar idea.
Yeah, I like the idea of the graphic visualization at the top. That makes a lot of sense. the links to the static reports, but also the percentage change year on year. So that what we can start to see, hopefully over time, is an increased change in a positive direction on response to cases, kids moving out of the system, the number of kids, the length of time kids are sitting in, for example, a STAR home or a PRTF or, any of those other types of things where kids may or may not be thriving. So back to something, and I apologize for not writing it down who said it, but the more information we have, the better choices and decisions we can make moving forward. I do love the screen by county on the ability to touch a different county within the state and be able to see the information that is coming up from that county. I think it's really telling in terms of being able to see where perhaps the need is the greatest and the correlation to services being offered. So I'm going to say right up front, I am not a data scientist. Okay. So while I am happy helping manage this committee, I also want to say this is not my strong suit. So, Kai.
I would love to see the mock-up that you all came up with before the next meeting.
Is there any way we can screen share it now? Is it ready for prime time?
I think only a few people have seen it. Commissioner, I'll defer to you if you'd like to show it.
I think we're actually scheduled for tomorrow exec team to actually be looking at that, I don't know if it's specifically the mock-up, but the data dashboard elements that we'd already been working on. So why don't we just make sure that it's inclusive of all of the things that we intend to have it include before we share that? Because it may be, I'm sure it's pretty robust. if Fred was working on it, but there might be some things in there that we would want to add. And then I think in addition, we would want to share what Fred was just referring to around some of the other reports and data that is produced, because we can then look to see if those are things that we would want included. We can do it now. We can include it on that framework. So we'll definitely have it ready to share in draft form with the group to add to the conversation next time. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Myself either in its draft form.
Would it be helpful for, I'm sorry, Kai.
No, I was just going to say thank you for that, because I think it would be really great to, have a starting place, look at, what you have and say, okay, these things might work really well, or we need to add this or that, depending on what we all come up with.
Would it be helpful if the members of the working group were able to provide the feedback of the priorities that they have been looking at or concerned about beforehand? So I know Rep. Belton is a social worker, therapist, am I correct?
Yes, both.
Both, okay. So her perspective is going to be very different than mine based off of just her, professional experience and what she might be looking for. So if that's something that the members of the committee would be able to provide some feedback as soon as possible, just your top 3, top 5, the points that you really would like to see included, whether it's caseload, length of time in certain spaces, whatever it is. If we can get that feedback to the team at DCF, we can start making sure that we're catching all of the points that we want to hit. I'm not going to pronounce your name correctly. I apologize. Iancu?
Yeah.
No. Iancu?
I was going to say, if there's a discussion or with a mock-up for tomorrow, if we could have the IT team, BITS team invited too, because we have 5 months. I believe January is when we need to deliver something, right? And what I've learned through experience, time flies. And before you know it, it's going to be January. So we need maybe a little bit of a POC, start with like at least one or two requirements on the dashboards, like the things that are inside the dashboard. This way we can start working right away.
Yeah, we'll circle back internally on that for sure. Time is of the essence, of course. So we'll take care of making sure that we are able to do that. And then also I like the idea, Representative Wieland, around looking at it consistent with the language of the bill. Are there some things that we want to make sure we're all considering for inclusion? You know, and it'll be interesting because I think my guess is that most of the outcome data is outcome data, or the outcomes themselves are going to be things hopefully we have some consensus on, you know, about like sort of entries into care, reductions of time in care, you know, timely access to placement and services. Like there's some things that are like, we haven't actually had the conversation in this group yet, of course, around, are we aligned on how are we going to measure success? You know, what are the, you know, but we have that's part of what we all talk about during session, the things that we all you know, engage in around how are we going to know whether the system as a whole is improving. But anyway, those are the things that are going to drive, I think, should drive maybe what we're deciding to put up there, you know, because, you know, and so input from the group, I mean, to your question about whether or not to send suggestions or ideas in advance, I mean, we're certainly not opposed to doing it that way. And maybe some of those things are going to be things that we can say, there's actually an online data report on that particular topic or not. So if the chairs and folks that are leading this work group want to facilitate something like that, we can certainly, I'm sorry, I'm speaking for the DCF team, but if people want to send those, we can certainly next time be prepared to also speak to, are some of those things that we already track, and or are those things that should be incorporated into a high level real time dashboard. Because I think some of the things may not be ripe. There are things we want to track and report out on, but might not be ripe for a real-time data dashboard. So if, you know, so I would be open to it, I guess is what I'm saying, if that's the direction the group would like to go.
Okay, thank you. Fred.
Just a couple other points to get them out there for things that the committee is going to need to discuss and decide. One point, we talked about disaggregation already, and geography is one of the most common and useful, of course, particularly for public dashboards like this. So the decision point, there are some decision points around how many different types of geographies would you want to be able to disaggregate to? How small a geography do you want to get down to? So that's something we'll want to discuss. Obviously, the smaller you get, the more you're going to run into small number problems, and the more the data just gets masked and all you see is less than 10. So it becomes less and less useful the further down you go. Though some people, some constituents may really have a very, you know, a vested interest or a need for that. And in some places, like in the bigger cities like Hartford or Waterbury or Bridgeport, New Haven, you could actually get down to pretty small geographies and still have decent numbers that you don't have to mask. So at any rate, we'll need to talk about that. County was mentioned, and for census purposes anyway, Connecticut has asked to use a county equivalent, which maps to our regional councils of government zones, planning zones. So we'll want to decide, do we want to use those zones? Do we want to use the actual counties, the federal counties, which don't generally mean much in Connecticut? So let's see. So there's that. Drilling down. So I think we need to also think about what are our strategies for what we display and where. So I'm kind of thinking of probably on the front page, we want simple but useful, as simple as possible but useful. And then as you drill through the areas and dig more deeply into the data, we can get more and more complex. There are some measures, measures like what the commissioner was just talking about, particularly ones that the federal government holds state child welfare organizations accountable to, that are not simple to understand, but they are the most useful and healthy for continuous quality improvement work. It's not something that you're probably going to want to put on the front page because no one will understand it, even if we do a good job of also providing definitions, accessible definitions for everything that we post, which we also should do. Go ahead. Thank you.
I was just going to say, are you talking about the CFSR requirements?
So, some of the CFSR statewide data indicators are pretty tricky to understand. Yes, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's Child and Family Services Review, for those who don't know all the acronyms yet.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yes, thank you. And Fred just sort of touched on something that I was going to talk about, is making sure that we are engaging and addressing the needs of all the potential stakeholders. As a legislator, we like the real-time data so we can, formulate policies and do what we can in the legislature to help. You also have just the general public, and then you've got providers. So I want to make sure we are reaching out and hearing from those people about what they need. And then how are we going to collect these suggestions? Like, how do you want us to provide our ideas of what we'd like to see?
That's a good question. I would very much like to have this mocked up DCF dashboard that you're working on, so that it's a lot easier. My experience is it's a lot easier to edit than it is to create, whole cloth. So to that point, Sarah, I think once we see what DCF is thinking about in this mock-up, in this new direction, then we'll be able to have input and saying, this is good. We think something's missing here. We'd like to see more data around this. Does that sound like a doable plan to people?
And I think if you do have specific points that you would like to see included, even if it's at the end result and not able to be done for the next meeting and with the mock-up, you can email our clerk. Mia Giglietti she's sent out the emails, so everyone should have her email address if you want to send it to her. And if you'd like to CC myself and Senator Marr as well, just there's more eyeballs on it, but Mia's always on top of it.
And just to add on, a discussion of who our audience is for this dashboard, like who are our potential audiences for this dashboard, so we know what to think about when we're creating it.
That's a good point. I think, though, we wouldn't be able to define it to just one audience. We're hoping it can be more universally available. So it's for legislators and for providers and for families and for, municipalities that are looking on how to beef up their own supports within their communities. I would hope that we can make it as universally helpful as possible. But that does change how we try to set the intention.
Exactly.
I would also add in DCF workers.
Yes.
Because to be able to see change and positive movement increases the morale within DCF. And that would be great as well. So I would include them. So there are I have 5 right here based on things that you said, Mary, and you said, Sarah, but I'm sure that there are more people, more constituents. So I did want to mention one thing that I would very much like to see, and this is something that is really important to Representative Paris as well, which is workforce data. So caseloads, vacancies, turnovers, and so that we can see what is the caseload, how many people do we have doing that work, and what are the outcomes of the cases that are being worked on. And I think that there is actually a dashboard in Wisconsin that addresses that. I can't find it right this second, but when I was looking at the Wisconsin dashboard, it struck me that they did have that same sort of information. Julie?
Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Senator Marr, because I think that's critically important. We recognize that a lot of the problems that our agencies have in carrying out their responsibility often has to do with staffing levels. And it would be helpful if possible to also include historical data on that, going back a number of years, because we as a state